All right, welcome back. Hopefully you all can hear me loud and clear. You see the thumbnail, you see the title. We are going to talk about white on white crime. And when you look at white on white crime, you start to scratch your head at how any white person or group of white people can go around trying to lecture black people and others on black violence, black criminality. I've shown these statistics before. I'll show them again briefly before we get started. The number of murder offenders, or should I say red rum offenders in the United States in 2023 by race. Okay? These are the people who carried out these acts of red rum. Notice how there are more whites. There are more whites. And this is why I try to emphasize that the only thing they have to hang their hat on is the lie that black Americans make up 13% of this country. We do not. They'll share statistics like this and say, look, blacks make up 45% of red rum offenders, yet they only make up 13% of the population. That means blacks are more criminal and more violent than whites, so we have the right to lecture you on how violent you are. People, y'all have to understand we do not make up 13% of this country. I think it's universally agreed that black Americans make up at least half of most large cities. Let's just get that understood. Let's agree on that. Black Americans make up at least 50% of mid-size to large cities. Now, with that understood, let's also agree that in some large cities, blacks are the majority. Detroit, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi. The list goes on and on. On top of that, there have been many who have pointed out the number of white towns, small white towns in the United States. And I have always responded with the fact that there are several small black towns in the United States. Hundreds of them. Just look them up. I did a whole video on them. Just like there are many small white towns that are majority white or almost all white, there are many small black towns. Most of them are in the South, but you pretty much have them in every state in the United States. So if we make up at least 50% of mid-sized to large cities, if 85% of all people live in mid-sized to large cities, then it's impossible for us to make up 13% of the population. 13% of the population could not make up such a large percentage of large to mid-sized cities, and we could not be the majority in so many small cities and small towns. Again, look them up. I did a whole video on it. So this chart shows you that the majority of red rum offenders are what? White. White. And this is for the year 2023. The majority of them are white. We could literally stop there. This fact alone, this stat alone, discredits any white person from lecturing black people on how criminal we are. Just stop it. But let's move on. Let's look at the number of red rum victims. These are the victims. Who's the majority of the victims? Black people. Do the math. Add that up. The majority of red rum offenders are white. The majority of victims are black. So you have no right. This is what I've been talking about. Stop trying to take this moral superiority stance, white racists, because it's only the white supremacists who do this. Stop trying to be morally superior. Why? Because you have no grounds to. You have no facts to back up your desire to be morally superior. You are not a race of angels, so get off it. Nobody buying that nonsense. Now, look at this. You see that? Husband shoots wife in front of kids. Let's look at exactly how these white men are violent. Y'all not doing drive-bys, so it doesn't get pasted on social media. It doesn't get shared all over social media like black criminals do. That's the only difference. Our violence takes place in different ways. Look at this. Man who kills neighbor over dog poop lashes out at widow. I would argue that the majority of white-on-white violence is neighbors attacking each other. They are always gunning down their fellow white neighbors. And white people, you know I'm telling the truth. Y'all don't commit drive-bys. You going out and popping your neighbor. That's y'all's version of a drive-by. Because they be offing their neighbors like there is no tomorrow.
A grieving widow whose husband was shot to death in a neighborhood dispute was in the process of making her victim impact statement when the convicted killer made an outburst in court that brought the proceedings to a standstill. Les Trent spoke to the widow today.
It's as stunning a moment in court as you'll ever see. A widow is giving a heartbreaking victim's impact statement at the sentencing of her husband's killer.
I beg your honor, the harshest sentence imposed to the coward, the murderer.
Suddenly, the neighbor convicted of the killing let loose.
Stability and sanity of an entire family.
That's why I killed him.
Spectators gasped in horror. As officers struggled to hustle him out of the courtroom, someone called out, "Burn in hell."
Burn in hell.
His lawyer had this to say.
I cannot tell you whether he meant a word that came out of his mouth today or if this was just anger and frustration.
Oh, look at the violence. Oh, look at the rage. We have to do something about this. Oh, this is the downfall of America. All of this white-on-white violence. Is it genetic? Is it something in their DNA? Or are they just inferior beings?
Is in custody.
Look at this. Man accused of offing 5 neighbors. He unalived 5 of his neighbors. Are you kidding me? And y'all want to go around? You want to make tours around the country trying to lecture people on how violent black Americans are? Every other word out y'all's mouth is Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. And it's pretty pathetic that y'all try to paint black Americans as violent, and when you do, you only talk about Chicago. Y'all only talking point is one American city. Pathetic. And that one city just happens to be the primary city where top-ranking military officers supplied those gangs with military weaponry. So whites had a hand and have a hand in the violence that you see in Chicago, which might explain why Chicago is the most violent city in the United States. You ever think of that?
Hands on top of your head.
This senior citizen just shot and killed his neighbor during an argument over trimming trees on their disputed property line.
Trimming trees. Yeah, it wasn't over a drug exchange, a drug deal gone bad. Yeah, it wasn't because he stepped on his new Jordans. But who cares? An unaliving is an unaliving. And look at how petty this is. There are more situations like this that go on with white Americans. You know how I know? Because black Americans are far more social and friendly with their neighbors. Let's continue, and then we'll pick up on that.
78-year-old Edward Druzilowski was taken into custody at his home, charged with killing his next-door neighbor in front of the slain man's 8-year-old son. The shooter's wife called 911.
My neighbor came onto our property, cutting down our trees, and my husband took his gun, but I think he meant to scare him, and I think he killed him.
So cowardly. So pathetic and cowardly. They need to take these guns away from these dudes. Over trimming trees. You couldn't just talk to them or nothing. See, this generally doesn't happen in black communities, because the neighbors will talk, be like, hey, I'm about to do some trimming. I'll cut your trees down. Like, yeah, I'm hurting. I got arthritis anyway. When you talk about black communities, they're far more social with each other. Let's talk about Chicago briefly. When you look at Chicago gangs, those gangs are based on their blocks, their neighborhoods, their communities. They go out there and cut their neighbor's yard for them. They interact with their neighbors on a daily basis. Many of you from Chicago, correct me if I'm wrong, any of you that's from Chicago, your neighbors are so important in Chicago that they override the nation. In other words, it can be a gangster disciple living next to a black pea stone, and they are going to be clicked in together. Why? Because they live next door to each other. They can be under different stars, under rival stars, and they will act like brothers to each other simply because they live on the same block. So that's why I would argue this happens far more often, and this is why there are more of them convicted of red rum and more of them who are the victim of red rum.
He killed your neighbor? I think so. He's not moving.
Then Druzilowski got on the line.
Enough of that. Let's move on to the next one. Man charged with unaliving neighbor over a leaf blower.
Between neighbors had deadly consequences, according to Lake County investigators, who say 79-year-old Ettore Lecce shot and killed his next-door neighbor. Lecce is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder after investigators say he approached 59-year-old William Martis, who was using a leaf blower on the property of his Antioch home. Investigators say the two began arguing, then Lecce shot Martis in the head.
Over a leaf blower. This is y'all's version of a drive-by. This and unaliving your own family. Unaliving your own siblings. You see, these drive-bys are more of a spectacle because it takes place in public. That's why it's so much easier for them to sensationalize black violence. And that's what they do. They signal boost it. But white violence, white criminals, when they commit red rum, it's looked at as some minor incident swept under the rug. It's not posted en masse on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. No, it does not make the rounds amongst the white population at all. They downplay it, just like they downplay and minimize all of their criminality. And I hope some of you racists are in the room. If you have any objections to anything I say, feel free to share with the rest of us.
Lake County Sheriff's deputies responded to that scene and located the 59-year-old victim laying in the driveway.
Enough of that. Let's move on to the next story. Another neighbor. And I'm just dealing with neighbors unaliving neighbors. I could get into other scenarios. Just think about it.
We are learning more about the man connected to a death in Cobb County. The man was at the center of a manhunt and is now in custody and accused of killing his neighbor. Deputies arrested 66-year-old.
Oh, yeah. And why are they always older? I know y'all remember this. that took place in Costa Rica, right? This was over a water sprinkler. Huh? Look at this. This is the offender right here. Look at him. Checking his Roscoe. You see him? Right now, he's fidgeting with his ratchet because he sees this lady's husband back here talking. His lady is arguing with this lady. And both of the men are present as well. There you go. That's y'all's type of drive-by. You see? Y'all may not do the drive-bys, the walk-ups, the run-ups. This is how y'all prefer to off each other. And this is a whole white dude. Yes, this is in Costa Rica, but this is a white dude in Costa Rica. This little Costa Rican man threw this little worthless punch. Let's examine this first. This big dude, he looks much bigger than this guy. So not only were you bigger, you big coward, this small guy can't fight. Look at the punch that he throws. Look at that. He threw a punch like a woman. He literally punched like a woman. There's no way that punch could have hurt you. You could have stood there and ate that punch. It wouldn't have bothered you at all. This little dude couldn't fight. You don't throw no punch like that. Looked like he was trying to smack him. You mean you was scared to knuckle up with this little dude? I would have had fun beating up this little joker. But like, dude, you lost your mind trying to swing on me. So I would have tore that dude up. You pull out your Roscoe? You flipping coward. You pathetic little coward. Don't talk to us about violence.
Has ended in death. The argument escalated and a father was shot. The man who pulled the trigger says it was self-defense. We should warn you, the video is disturbing.
It's an argument that is about to lead to one man's death.
Where's my son?
54-year-old Chad Reed is picking up his son from his ex-wife's house. Christina Reed and her new boyfriend are telling him to leave. Then the boyfriend goes inside the house in Lubbock, Texas. The argument between the exes heats up.
I'll go get him. I'm supposed to have him at 3:15. I get him at 3:15. If you want to see him, you see him up until 3:15.
Suddenly the boyfriend comes out. He's got a rifle.
Do it right. You gotta use it.
The two men go chest to chest. They struggle for the weapon. Kyle Carruth fires into the ground.
Call 911.
Then he turns and fires 2 more shots.
Oh my God!
There you go. There you go. The white version of a drive-by. There you go. Go to college campuses around the country and lecture students on this type of violence. Seeing that this is your community. Focus on your problems rather than pretending to be some kind of angel who is in a moral superior position and you want to lecture to blacks on our violence. And one more point I need to make once again about black on black violence is that it has nothing to do with you anyways. Charlie Kirk, for example, grew up rich, living in suburbs. Black on black violence literally had nothing to do with him and did not affect his quality of life at all. He was simply looking for a grift, a way to make money and a way to bring attention to himself. I've talked about this several times. These white supremacists complaining about black violence when it's primarily black victims that have to deal with these violent black people. It literally has nothing to do with y'all at all. You simply button your stupid noses in our business, constantly, like always, looking to feel superior than blacks, because that's what maintains their ego. Like I said in the previous video, the most recent live stream, for many of these white supremacists, their ego is kept together by their perceived superiority over black people. That's why they're so obsessed and fixated on us, on our crime, and they share it on these social media platforms like wildfire. It's a reflection of their own insecurity and their attempt to project. And again, keep in mind, emphasize the fact that we are not 13% of this country and they literally had nothing to talk about. And I will leave it there.